Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is your sister and your homegirl and your friend and your bestie, whatever you want to add in there that I am to you. And you're listening to the Digital Sisterhood podcast. So, fun fact, y'all, before I was a smashing international top charting podcast host, I was a warrior for justice. You heard it here, y'all. I was the most intense kind too. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me only got more intense too when I started to practice my faith, because Islam, at the root of it, was about the protection and the preservation of human dignity and justice. But really, to put it in plain terms, y'all, to keep it real simple, I just really hated bullies. I mean, like with a passion. I couldn't stand them. So much so in university, believe it or not, I took in my final year, okay, wasn't in my second, it wasn't in my third, but in my final year when grades counted, I took a failing grade because I refused to apologize to a professor who bullied me and other students for refusing to accept her problematic Islamic views. Because it was in my like Islamic human rights and Islamic theory class. And I remember the advice somebody gave me was, oh, Ada, like this is your final year, just go apologize and get that grade that you deserve, because that fight, that argument is not going to matter in a few years' time. But to be honest, it did matter to me. I wasn't going to fall back on something that I knew was right just because I needed a grade. I just couldn't, it didn't sit with me. And so I took the failing grade to the chest. Although taking a hit on my final grades probably wasn't the most smartest thing as an eldest first generation girl. But I did what I had to do. But if you want to talk about advocacy, right? You want to talk about fighting, you want to talk about like standing to what you believe in, let me tell you a story about a girl named Yasmin. Yasmin's family did the Great Migration to Minnesota when she was 3 years old with 8 of her siblings. Her mom was this like gentle soul, soft and loving, but her dad was quite the opposite. He was all about surviving this Cold War called life. He believed that full-time school was daycare and that real school started when they came home.
He was the youngest of his family. My Ayayala Haristo grew him up to be in a sense of having your own and becoming someone. And she didn't go to school. She basically was working at a sugar factory, and the sugar factory stopped. So they were very living in a very poor state. So they would only have like a meal a day. They were lucky to find a meal. So Albert, he would tell us stories about during Eid, how kids would have shoes and everything. He would stand in the corner and he would just wonder like, oh, why can't I eat like that? You know, and then he started to gain a sense of, when my kids grow up, I want to be able to provide for them, instill good things in them. I don't want them to live in the same way that I did, in the same like pains that I've lived through, you know? And he used to read the dictionary, and then he would have us read the dictionary too, but I was like, you can't do that. So he would read the dictionary. He's a top student in every grade, but he just didn't have the funds to fully accomplish everything he wanted. But alhamdulillah, one of his uncles supported him, and he got out of college, and he was an English and math teacher and opened up his own private school in Yemen. He had his own private school there, so he was a teacher. So I meet all his students. They're like, oh, your dad was our teacher. You can't even move your neck. You have to pay attention and everything.
So you can imagine, Yasmin's dad had doors after doors after doors closed on him. But he would be damned if doors were going to be closed on his kids. And so he made sure that his kids believed in themselves. He was persistent and he was intentional about teaching Yasmin to be confident in who she is, confident in the way that she learns, confident about the things that she wants to pursue. The funny part of this part is that, I mean, he raised just that. Yasmin was this confident and like, I know what I want, I know what I'm going to do kid. So much so that in the 4th grade, he came to talk to her about something that happened. And Yasmin, well, she stood up for herself.
So going into 4th grade, I remember we're going on a field trip, and it was roller garden. And I've never been to roller garden ever. And my friend was like, oh, you know, Yasmin, your jilbab, it's gonna go under the skates. And I had no idea. I'm like, I can't get injured, you know? So I was like, so what do I do? And she's like, oh, just put a khamar on. And I was thinking, oh no, we don't do that in our house. We can't put a khamar on. And then I was like, okay, maybe one time for the one time, just for the cause, let me just put it in my bag, you know?
Yeah.
And then I went home, and then my parents are just sitting there. And my parents are ones where they want to talk everything out for 5 hours. They'll tell you about their childhood. So I'm trying to go through my mind. And then my dad goes, open up your bag. Immediately I knew. Immediately I knew what I did. And then I sat there and I said, Ababo, so I want to tell you one thing, and I hope you don't take this to offense, but I wear the hijab for Ilahi, and I really want to wear it for Ilahi. I don't want to lie to you and wear it for you, even though I am very grateful that you taught me the hijab, but I don't want to have this notion of Ababa's going to get mad if I don't wear the hijab the right way. So I just always want to keep I wear it for Ilahi. And I was a little kid, now that I imagine it. I was in 4th grade. So
4th grade, you're talking like that.
4th grade is talking like that, and my dad just respected it. So whenever I wanted to wear the khamar or whenever I wanted to wear the jilbab, he let me do what I wanted to do because he knew she knows at least why she's doing what she's doing.
Riddle me this. Homework. Is it practice makes perfect, or are we teaching our kids to second guess themselves? Well, for Yasmin and many students like her, it was the latter. Yasmin didn't see the point in doing something over and over and over again. It made school mind-numbingly dull, and it caused her grades to slip.
What I experienced was it's a lot of busy work. It's like you have to just do this homework, do this, do that. It's not like, and I was a very creative person. Like I loved art, I loved creativity. So it wasn't very intriguing to me. And I was a bit of a rebel too. So if I didn't like something, I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it.
So when it came to homework, I got it the first 2 problems. I don't have to do 36 that's at that point I'm not doing this. I would literally, throughout high school even, I would not do my homework. And then my teachers would sit there and they'd be like, Yasmin, like your exams are like you're getting B's and A's. What's going on in this department? And I'm like, I just don't believe in homework. Yeah. So I think it's maybe because even Abba used to teach us at home, and his learning style is a lot different than the schools.
Wow.
So if you got these problems, we're moving on to the next subject. We're moving on to the next level. So it wasn't, we're just going to sit here and continue doing the same thing if you got it. So I had one teacher that believed in me. Yeah. He believed in me so much that he knew that I wasn't doing it just out of like laziness or anything. He's just like, okay, this is how you work and this is how you like your learning style. He went to all my teachers and had them take away the homework section.
Wow, he did that.
Yeah, and he's like, if she does well in her exams, and we can hone it down to a couple of homeworks, and that's it. Like, she's not doing any more than that. So that's how I got to pass. So I was struggling throughout high school of just finding myself and not wanting to fit into a system that was built for me, you know. And I remember the moment that I chose what career I want was the day that, right before that teacher came, I was failing everything, and I was trying to have everyone do my homework, and I was bawling because there's no way like everyone's gonna help me finish all of this, you know. So I went into a closet and I was like crying so much, and I was like, okay, Yasmin, like, why are you crying? Like, I self-talk. And I was like, okay, I'm crying because I couldn't get this done. Why? What does this mean to you then? Why do you have to get this done so I can get a better education? So I was like, okay, and I started following the path. Okay, if you get a better education, what are you trying to do? And I was listening to myself and seeing that I was still following the system, and it was not like filling the void in me. And I was like, Yasmin, how about this? Like, how about we decide our career right now? Like, that's when I was in 10th grade.
Wow.
And I was like, so what do you want to do in this earth? Let's just say everything went to shambles and it was chaotic, and like money's not involved, nothing's involved. Like, what do you want to do? And we'll just follow this purpose. And I told myself, I just want to help other people. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm helping other people, I'm good. So that's when I started thinking into going into healthcare. And so whatever career I chose, so long as it was providing me that purpose, I knew I was okay. So then I told myself, you know what? Then you're gonna have a path of like, this is what you're gonna do next. This is how you're gonna accomplish things. Like I'm gonna be my number one supporter.
At 18, trying to find a career you want to do for the rest of your life can be daunting. A little bit. Yeah, 18. Figure out your whole life. Sounds a little impossible to me. And Yasmin had just like finished high school with flying colors and was ready for the next chapter. But before she could take that leap, she had to make the tough decision of finding what exactly she wanted to do. She knew that she wanted to help others. That was her bread and butter. Alhamdulillah, thankfully, Yasmin's dad had just the right idea.
So Abba came to me one day and he was like, oh, why don't you do respiratory? And I was like, respiratory, what's that? And then he's like, oh, you work with life support and stuff. And it's like, life support. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're not doing that.
Sounds a
I was
little...
like, something else. Yeah. We're not doing that. He goes, no, I actually see you doing respiratory. And I was like, you'll never see me doing that. I literally told him that. He's like, how about this? How about you just apply to what you want and apply to this program and see how things unfold? And I was like, okay. I just did it I was like, I'm not getting into this. I barely put any effort and time into it. And for the respiratory program, you have to do like a tour around the hospital of an RT to see if you really like doing this career and how a day in the life of an RT is. RT is just short for respiratory. So I took a tour and I actually loved it. And I was like,
wow. What did you love?
I loved that even though the first room we went into was a patient with life support machine, it kind of scared me at first. And then just seeing the family and how they were super intrigued with the respiratory therapist and how much hope they had in the respiratory therapist and helping their family member. And it kind of almost fit into what my purpose was. I got into the program, alhamdulillah. And then soon enough, we started going into the respiratory program. And I was I was an introvert. You know, I would go into class, have my backpack there, and as soon as it's time to go, I'm running out the door, you know? I had a different learning style, so I would record my teacher and just sit there and try to gain everything. And then later on, write everything down, re-listen to everything and write it word for word, and then just read it off, and then I'll just go to the exam.
Oh, wow. Wait a minute.
I never touched a textbook.
So wait. You would literally, so you would listen to the episode, you would listen to the professor,
yes.
You would record it,
yes.
Then you go home, take notes of the word for word that she said,
yes.
And then close the book and say, I'm ready for the exam.
Yep. And then the exam day, I have to go to a separate room as everybody's waiting for the exam, and I would put Quran in my ears, and I did not want anyone getting me anxious, so I would just put Quran in my ears, and I would not look at a single textbook or anything, and I was just, until it's time to take the test, and then I'll go to the room and I'll take the test.
You had a game time ritual. You know, with football players, you know, because like you have to understand, the winning of a game is all about the mindset. A lot of people think it's a lot to do with skills. No. You could be the most skillful athlete in the world. If your brain ain't right, you're not hitting those baskets.
That's true.
So it's crazy that you said, okay, game time, put the Quran on. You're not looking at anybody. You're not looking at the person that's shaking their right leg. You're not looking at the girl walk you up and down the hallway waiting for the exam to start. You're just literally looking and you're just listening and you're just going, that's
your
crazy.
Environment is very important, you know, and a teacher when I was in middle school taught me about that. She would just close the lights, dim the lights, and then open the curtains up, and then make sure your environment is super comfortable for you. So she always taught me that you are what your environment is. So your mind is what your environment is, and I'm super heavy on that. So the first time we took the exam for the respiratory program, everybody was psyching each other out. Oh, 60% of students fail the first exam and all of that. And I psyched myself out actually for the first exam, and I did not pass.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, Yasmin, the reason why you did not pass is you kept telling yourself you're not passing. And therefore, the results are you're not passing.
Yeah.
So what I did was, because you get to retake the exam. So I retook the exam, super calm, told myself you're going to pass this time, and just took everything very lightly, and I passed it. Alhamdulillah. Wow. So after that, I was like, no, we're not answering questions right before the exam. We're not doing nothing. Anybody anxious or I don't want no negative energy. I just want my Quran, myself, and just
Because you know what it is? You had this confidence. You knew what you needed to do.
Yes.
Sometimes, I'll be real.
Yes.
Being a student is actually quite difficult.
It is.
Because you don't know who you are. You don't know your learning style either. But you there's a standard, right? They say, okay, this is how you should do it. And you're guaranteed to do well. But the reality is that's not the truth.
Yeah.
You could do exactly how you're told and still fail.
That's true.
And what does that do to our morale, bro? Can you imagine like what that did to my psyche?
I
said, maybe I'm just dumb.
I know.
You're right.
That's true.
Those are the only responses to you. Because, you talk about self-talk.
Yes.
I do that too.
Yes.
Right? When something is going bad, I can't talk to anybody. I have to talk to myself. Like I have a private meeting with myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you think you failed? Like, what do you think? Because you just want to hear yourself. There's so many thoughts happening.
Yes.
And some of the voices you hear in your head are not all yours.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I try to look at myself like, hey, what's you? What's not? But I had a hard time with school because I was trying to learn somebody else's way. And when I failed, I thought it was my own.
Oh, yes.
And that is the problem. It's like, it's not authentic. It's not real. Everyone is different. How they learn is different.
Yes.
And instead, we should be encouraging everybody to find out, how do you learn?
That's true.
What is your game time ritual?
Yes.
What gets you from one end to another?
I know.
Let me not give you the standard because we're done with that, right? And I know we can talk about this in the medical world because the standard, right, that they had for Black people, right, was, what was it? It was racist,
That's true.
right?
It
It
is.
was never accurate to the actual human. But that's what life is about, right? A bunch of people telling you this is the standard, but it wasn't made for you. It was made for a different type of group of people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But was I woke then? No. The entire experience, my heart was broken.
I know.
Right? Really, it's just your heart being broken over and over and over
and being
again.
guilt tripped. Yeah. And when you find a new style of learning, you shouldn't guilt trip yourself like, oh, everyone's studying in groups.
Yeah.
Like, and then you feel guilty of saying, oh, I don't want to study with you guys. Let me study on my own. Like, actually advocating for yourself, you start to feel guilty. So I was the one that would advocate for myself. I'm like, listen, I'm a bit weird, but this is how I do that. And so I like to learn things on my own, but I love to teach people. That's how I learn too. So I was like, on review day, I can come on a review day and I can go on the saburat, was basically the whiteboard, and then start writing and teaching. And then you guys can ask me questions, and then if you're comfortable with that, and then we can roll that way. And everybody's super comfortable. They loved the way that I taught.
Yeah.
So I would study on my own and just do a 1-day review day with everyone, and that was it.
That's amazing.
But you have to learn that it's okay. It's okay that you have a different learning style. It's not a bad thing. You have to just own up to who you are and what your likes are and stick with it and not kind of like guilt trip yourself in a sense, I have this methodology of like, if you were to put a 6, write a 6 down, like it's a 6 for me, but it's a 9 for you. It's all about our experiences. You're not wrong.
First of all, that's deep. I'm going to start saying that everywhere now. Oh, Abaya, if it's a 6 for you, it's a 9 for me. Wallah, anybody that disagrees with me, babes, there's 2 numbers on the slide. There's a 6 and a 9. Which one do you see? I see a 9, bro. And I know you don't see a 6. Guess what? I love that. Guys, listeners, if you're listening, if you're ever in a place of contention and somebody says to you, why do you think like that? Babes, you see a 6, I see a 9. What's the problem? That's the quote. Barakallah fi Yasmin. Now we got a new slogan for the tote bag. Thank you. Coming soon this fall. It's a 6, but it's a 9 for me, babes.
I love it.
Yasmin, we stole that from you, Bio. If you see that on a tote bag, don't be shocked, okay? Coming this fall, it's coming this fall. It's a 6 for you, it's a 9 for me, babes. That's the quotation.
That's it.
Well, like, respectfully, right? Respectfully.
Because it gives room for like a safe space for everyone to have their own opinions.
Absolutely.
There's 7 million different human beings in this earth. Like we all don't need to think exactly the same way. Like if we're getting to the same goal but in different ways, alhamdulillah, just respect everyone's like, you know what I mean, ways. But I think the reason why that methodology even came about is in healthcare, if you're super quiet, it's like you're not if you're not outgoing, because they critique you on clinicals, the critique that I always got was you don't talk to the other RTs and you're very like shy. In order to be the best RT or the best student, you have to be outgoing. You have to just, that wasn't me. And I was
Wow.
struggling with it because I would be in clinicals and I would try to do something that wasn't me. Like, oh, how are you? That wasn't me. Like, I can say, like, calmly, like, once I get comfortable with the person, I was like, how are you? Good. But I'm not going to be overly, like, running and dashing. Like, that wasn't me. And that's what they expected you to do. Like, and I was kind of an observer too. So I love to learn with like seeing things. So I would be super quiet and just learning that way. But if you don't ask enough questions or you're like not on top of it, it's like you're getting points deducted. So I like struggled a lot in trying to refine myself again, going through as a student in healthcare,
Wow. Because there was a norm of what an RT looked like.
Yes.
And you weren't that. And you're like, what? I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I signed up to do meaningful work.
Yes.
And now you guys want me to be like a TV host every day, ask questions every day, and that's so problematic. That's so difficult because no one is the same. Why are you putting us all over this box? We can't fit in here.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Pause. I know the story is getting so good, but wait, I have a message for you that you're going to want to hear, okay? Have you been looking for an opportunity to reconnect your faith by building a relationship with the Quran, or even learning Quranic Arabic, or even getting your questions answered about different rulings? Well, let me tell you, the Ribat Academic Institute is an online program that provides traditional Islamic education for women by women. Yes, you heard me right. Islamic education for women by women. Yes, all the courses are taught by female scholars. Allah Mubarak. You have a choice from over 50 courses ranging from Sirah to Tajweed to Fiqh and Hadith. You can even take in classes like the 99 Names of Allah or Purifying the Heart or the reflections from the Quran and the lessons from the life of the Prophet ﷺ, as well as a Mentorship Matters program on how to guide and support and help others. Ribat's online classes have been reconnecting Muslim women from all around the world with their faith and helping them reclaim their traditionally held leadership roles in Islamic scholarship, mentorship, and community care. All classes are held live online and recordings are posted after class. And the courses, guys, are affordable. They're not expensive at all. They also provide country discounts and scholarships are available. So there's no reason why you shouldn't sign up. So if you're interested, visit Rabata, that's RABATA.info/TDS and register today. Although Yasmin had finally figured herself out, racism, like it usually does, still stood in her way. But Yasmin, she didn't just experience racism, she experienced racism and all of its friends. I'm talking about xenophobia. I'm talking about Islamophobia. I'm talking about anti-blackness. I'm talking about sexism. Yasmin was in the middle of the biggest family tree. And it's not the family tree we all want to be chilling at or heading to their cookout. But here Yasmin was, being maybe the food at this cookout, I don't know. But it plagued her college experience. Actually, in her clinical simulation class, let me tell you, her professor gave her a C because of a minor grammatical error. And being the ambitious student that Yasmin is, she asked the professor how she could improve. And let me tell you, just guess what this professor said. We're at this cookout. What do you think which cousin spoke up first?
And she's like, Yasmin, if I were you, I would stay at my level.
You're lying.
And I said, okay.
You're lying.
Okay.
No, you're lying.
Yes,
she told you next time for you.
She said, just
stay on your level.
Stay on your level.
Stay on your level.
Stop trying to go up. And I was not expecting
goodness.
And I was like, okay. And it went from that to having issues of asking for prayer, because the exam time and the prayer time were overlapping, and you would have to ask, and she had issues with that. And prayer during clinicals, that was becoming an issue.
I swear, you cannot make this up. And if you think this boiled Yasmin's blood, imagine what happened when her Ababa found out.
So I told Abba, and I was like, okay, this is not okay. I'm coming to your school. I was like, okay.
Your dad came down there.
And my dad came down there.
And your clinical professor. Well, okay.
And then we talked to the head of the program.
Okay.
And he sat him down, and my dad is an English teacher, so he literally took the paper and he edited it himself.
He took the paper.
He took the paper.
He
and
took his red pen.
himself.
He started editing it live.
Yep.
This is how I would have marked
Yes.
this.
Yes.
To the director of your program.
To the director of my program.
I need your dad as a lawyer. Do you have his number? I need his number. No, I need your dad's number. No.
Yes.
No. Your father is basically Nelson Mandela.
At this point.
I'm gonna need his Hayat.
And then he went on to tell him that so he said, even if you were to say anything, this is where she could have went wrong. He would let me know, like, he's not just gonna overhype
Yeah, he's like,
me up,
I don't like my daughter that much. I'll tell you she's wrong, right?
But at the end of the day, he's like, what you're doing is not correct. And then he kind of like almost like threatens him with like, you can lose your job over this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't try this again.
Dad he was bringing out his inner Karen. I will have you fired.
You can lose your entire license.
100%.
Is what he would say to them. From then
dad-
on, I was not bothered. And they kept calling the director my grandpa, because he would always cater to me after that.
Yeah.
Because he knew Abu.
Oh my
He was
God.
like, don't mess with her. No, alhamdulillah, he did that throughout schooling, and he would stand up for us, even if they tell us that we're soft-spoken or we're very like shy. He would not allow that type of mentality to even get to us, because it was almost used as a way to push you down, in school. So he's like, no,
He knew.
she talks a lot at home. No,
Yeah.
don't tell me that. So alhamdulillah,
You're not going to use these labels
yes,
that are not real.
basically. So alhamdulillah for Abba, as soon as I saw that, it kind of like almost gave me the sense of confidence. Like, Abba was there rooting for you, so
Yeah.
you're good.
You're good.
You know what I mean?
So the saga of racism, or should I say, the cookout continues. And so did the audacity. Yasmin's women's reflective class. Okay, I said women's reflective class. The professor made a comment that once again, I could not make up.
I remember the first day of class, she told us, oh, I'm going to teach you guys how to be strong, independent women so you don't join stuff like ISIS.
Stop.
And mind you, it's just me and another fellow Somali girl in the class. The whole class is
It's
just
all white.
white.
And you really
So it's like, who are
black
you
and Muslim.
targeting here? You know what I mean? So I was shocked. And then later on, there's more and more stories of her just giving me bad grades. And she's just like, oh, I didn't like the word you used. You could have used this word. I'm like, that's your synonym. This is my synonym. You know what I mean? So I'm
Oh my God. I have to say, you wrote a 6 and she saw a 9.
I can't.
She failed you.
That was the perfect way. That was the perfect.
You saw a 6. She saw a
Saw a
9 and didn't like your 6. You had a
Basically.
problem with your 6. She
Yes.
don't like 6s.
No shit.
Astaghfirullah. Okay?
Oh my.
But at this point,
So-
she saw 0. Let's be real.
at this point.
Astaghfirullah.
And then we go into like all the students are now saying more and more stories of how they had racist interactions with the teacher. And I had a specific interaction where she just did not like how like I kind of gathered all the students, the ones that are having the same issue.
No, you
And we're
rally
like-
people. You rally people, right?
I said, we're gonna report
You
this. You know what I mean?
The introvert.
Yeah.
The introvert and the soft-spoken girl rallied everyone to say, we
Yeah.
cannot accept this behavior.
Yeah.
The quiet one, right? The one that people don't prototypically see as a leader, rallied everyone and said,
Yeah.
we're going to report her. That's
That's
why we're here tonight in this basement in secret, you know?
Basically, I mean, we paid way too much money too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like it's a public school; it's a private school. We pay way too much money to be dealing with, like, you know what I mean. On top of that, so I was leaving class, and then I cannot remember exactly what conversation or like back and forth we're having, and she was like kind of like aggressive in a sense of like kind of like overpowering me to the point where my back was pushed against the wall, and she's
Physically.
that close to me. And I was like, Like at this
Oh, why she try to
point,
square up?
because she knew at this point we're reporting her.
Oh, so she knew.
Yeah, she
She
knew.
wanted to threaten you with her
And
body.
she was just against the fact of how dare you call
How
me a
dare you?
racist. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not having it. So what she did was, as soon as we got to meeting the department heads about these situations, she went and started grading the students. So come midterms, she gave everyone A's. She gave everyone A's, and then she gave me a C.
Oh my God.
She gave me like a C plus. She gave me a C plus, and I did not have a C plus. I had an F based on her grading style. So she gave me a C plus just to tell me, hey, I'm letting you pass. So just keep it down.
Yeah.
And then she gave
Because
everyone
she's saying
else
I would have
A's.
I would have gave you an F, and I could still
Yes.
give you an F.
Yes. So that's when we lost a lot of students that were advocating because they're like, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah.
So and
She
then,
got you, bro. She made
I
you lose your
know.
people. She's like, at the end of the day, these people want an A.
I know. And then I was like, nope. I went to another department. I was like, okay, this is the issues we're having. And then as they're going through the stories, they're like, okay, so she had you pass. Why are you still advocating? Like, I'm just curious. So
They told you to accept your C and shut up.
basically, and I told them there's no way that you're gonna control me over a grade, because at the end of the day, like, not everyone can speak up for themselves, and I don't want someone else coming after me dealing with the same issues, and I just left with my passing and I moved on with it. If it means only one person speaking up and then changing this, I'd rather do that. Not everyone can speak up. It's very hard. It sounds easy, but it's not easy at all. You know, you have to take the punches after you speak up, you know. So alhamdulillah, she got taken out. So as soon as we started the next semester, I met up with the heads of that department, and they said she no longer teaches that course.
Yasmin is finally done with their horrible college experience. And her hard work paid off. I mean, she survived the cookout, right? She landed 3 internships at 3 different hospitals. Yasmin chose a hospital she believes had the most diverse staff and patients. Ugh, we love an optimist. I mean, this is healthcare after all. He wasn't wrong. This is a place about healing, right? This is about people. This is about the greater good. What possibly could go wrong?
You're seeing people sick and everything, like, you have to have a soft heart,
yeah.
like, to be able to do that. So there's no way that you can be so cold in that environment. And then I had a rude awakening, you know. So we go in, and then the first things we start hearing, like, little tiny, like, whispers of racism, like them not getting our names correct, and saying, oh, it doesn't matter, they're just a new student, they're just new. Like, they would get all of our names mixed up, and they'll just call us RT from then on. At first, they're just getting our names wrong, and then it went to giving us way heavier assignments than our white coworkers. Like, we would have this much area, this much patients to cover, and they have just, like, we would have the amount of 2 to 3 people, and they just have a tiny amount. And at first, it's just
Wow.
like, everyone's just like, just thug it out, just do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm thugging it out, but that gives me limited time to see my patients. Like, them being racist to me just doesn't affect just Yasmin now. It affects my patient care, you know? So if I can't see all my patients, everyone's getting very minimal treatment, you know?
SubhanAllah.
So, and then there's more room for error. You're not getting trained adequately. We have to ask and repeat and keep, like, saying, like, I'm not doing this unless you properly train me. And everyone's like, oh, just, Yasmin, don't be, like, difficult, you know? Just do it, and if you have questions, just ask us. But at the end of the day, like, my license is on the line, you know? If I just, like, thug it out just because I don't want to annoy them, and then I get in trouble, they will not spare me a second. I would not be spared, you know? So I would always hone in on, I'm not doing this. And then they got to a tactic of, they would give it to your friend instead of you. So now it's like, oh, you're going to do that to your friend?
Yeah.
So it's like, then you start to feel guilty. It's like, okay, like, I can't have this person take over because I didn't want, like, and then imagine you come into work and you're the charge now. I didn't get charge trained. I'm the head of the whole department right now. And I have to go to the OR. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. I'm not properly trained to do any of this. They would give me 16 patients, you know what I mean, with and then I have to take care of charge and all this other extra stuff. So it's like, how am I running around doing all of this? The day that I was like fed up was the day that I was called down to the OR. So the OR is like, you have to set up very quick. Like you can't miss it, you know? And I had a patient upstairs that's coding. I had another patient took his tube out, his life support tube out. I have another one who had another issue, and I'm just one person, you know, and you're not getting much help from. And if you ask for too much help, it's like, oh, you're dumb. You know what I mean? If you ask too many questions, you're dumb again. You know, and I'd rather be dumb. I'd rather be known as the dumb one that keeps asking questions, that keeps saying this is not okay, because it's not okay. You know, these are people's lives. The families entrusted their lives on us, you know, and I can't be playing around just because I want to be looked at a certain way from the coworkers. So as I was like fighting back that way, then I'm starting to see getting reported a lot more. Yeah, I'm getting reported. The most ridiculous report that I've gotten was a machine that was like, it's called a CPAP machine. Patients put it on. It has a little sound to it when you turn it on. Just like when you turn the fan on, it has a sound. So the patient complained about having a sound the whole night, and I got reported for it. I didn't make the equipment. I asked my manager, I was like, was there an alarm sound? Where's the beeping sounds?
Yeah.
She's like, no, just like the regular humming. And I'm like, okay, then that's
What can
that's
I
a
do with that?
machine.
Yeah.
What's that got? What does that have to do with me? You know, that's how ridiculous the reports were coming.
That's insane.
And then one of the most severe first reports that I've gotten was they were trying to like tell me I almost killed a patient.
I have an announcement today from the sponsor that you all need to hear, inshallah. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever takes a path upon which obtains knowledge, Allah makes the path to paradise easy for him. The sad reality is that many students are having a hard time getting a higher education because of the soaring costs of colleges and universities. Taking out student loans that come with extreme high interest rates only makes matters worse. In fact, student debt loan debt in the US has now reached a staggering sum of $1.6 trillion, of which approximately 447,000 Muslim students suffer from. Here is where ACC comes in. ACC, or A Continuous Charity, is an organization with a mission to promote the spiritual and intellectual development of Muslims throughout North America by providing interest-free loans for higher education. By doing this, we hope to bring about a generation of graduates that will have strong Muslim identities and be well-versed in their fields. TDS has joined hands with A Continuous Charity in launching a $25K fundraising campaign to support Muslim women and aid them in attaining their educational pursuits. We have the power to transform their lives and in turn, the future of our ummah. Help us help them. Every dollar you donate today lives year after year because they give back to another student. Head to our show notes or to our social media pages to find the link to donate. If you can't donate, please spread the word. Jazakallah khair.
Going back into giving you a heavy load of an assignment, they would give me a heavy load of an assignment. Let's take care of many floors throughout the night. So there's less RTs during the night. And I had to cover so many floors. And the nurses are just calling to give like as needed treatments. And you have to just bounce around every floor, like you have to go as your list goes on, you know? So there's a particular patient that came through the emergency, and then they had to have a machine. And this machine, I took it to him. I was like, hey, you need to have this machine for a little moisture. And he said, no, I'm not doing it. I was going back and forth with him. I was like, okay. He didn't do it at home, but per protocol, we have to have it in the hospital. So I went to the nurse, couldn't find the nurse. So I went to the charge nurse and I was like, hey, can't find the nurse, but this patient is refusing it. I have it in the room. Can anyone talk to him? She's like, okay, if you refused, you refused. Just try it. I was like, okay, but I just need someone to know because I don't want to get in trouble later on. She's like, no, but you need to forget about him. You need to go do these nebs here. Nebs are like nebulizers. You need to go do a nebulizer here. And I was like, yeah, I have a list. One person, I can do as much as I can. I said, I'm just letting you know about this patient. I'm going to this room. She's like, no, focus on this room. Stop talking about this one. I said, okay. I go do my naps and everything. I'm getting called left and right. Comes morning time, shifts change. I get a call from a nurse, and then I hear screaming in the back, "Oh my God, get this, get the suction, get." And I'm like, "What's going on?" She goes, "Come over here right now, come over here." And I'm like, "What is going on?" She goes, "You need to get over here right now." And I was like, "Okay, something's going on." So I get down and I just see, I don't know if it was one of the nurses or if it was like one of the residents or someone was just pointing at me and pointing their finger, like, you tell someone to come with your index finger.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing to me. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. I was like, Yasmin, just
Yeah.
let's just think with a sound mind,
Yeah.
I get there, they're like, "You almost killed the patient, you almost killed the patient," in front of the
In
patient.
front of the patient?
Yeah, and the patient is bawling. And I'm like, "What's going on?" And
Oh.
she goes, "What's your name? What's your name? Give me your name. I need to report you." They're so fixated on tearing me down and reporting me instead of what's actually going on right now. And then I get my badge and I say, "My name is Yasmin, Yasmin, and my last name is Samatar. Here's my last name.
Yeah.
Go ahead and report me. I really don't care for that right now. Can we take care of the patient?"
Yeah.
Because he's literally crying.
Oh my God.
And then they're just like, "Oh," and then they kept denying that I ever let them know,
What you?
denying. So I did they always used to call me Twitter fingers because I
Why?
would document everything.
Oh wow.
Documentation.
So
Sorry,
you
yeah.
documented
Yeah.
that you told them?
I documented everything.
You're lying. Yes, you do. You okay? I have a question. I'm a little
Yes.
shocked right now.
Yeah.
Do you know? Is it because is it a thought for you? Like,
Yes.
I need to document this because I know something's about to go wrong.
Yes.
Somewhere a mistake is gonna be put on me.
Yes, I have
So
to.
you
think
had that feeling.
Yeah, you always have to be on guard to be reported. So you have to be your own lawyer in a sense.
Oh my gosh! So you basically got the memo when you were getting reported. You're like, I need to start documenting
A lot more.
my shifts.
Every step.
That's
everything.
crazy.
So it's like it's me against it. It's you against the documentation now.
Yeah.
So we go on and we take care of the patient. They were still whispering and stuff like really bad mouthing me in there, and I didn't pay no mind. I was like,
Oh my
I
God,
was
I
just
would have
talking
cried, yes. I'm not gonna lie. Imagine seeing a patient
I
crying
know.
and he's crying and
Yeah.
they're all bickering and they're doing this in front of the patient saying that you almost killed him.
Yeah.
And while you're helping him, they're bickering about you saying, "This girl, like, she doesn't know what she's doing. Why she?" I would have cried.
And then the
I
thing
would've
is,
had
he
a
has a
sob
trach,
test.
so he can't talk. So it's like,
God.
so it's like almost like I felt so bad for him that you're witnessing this. Like, you need help. The worst thing to have, it's very hard and it's an imtihan for anybody, is being in the care of bin Aden. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being in the care
Feeling
of him,
defenseless.
it's like very hard. Like, you get people that are not like very genuine. So, and the patients are the most genuine people, and it's amazing to me because it's like the type of people they deal with, and you're always asking for help from another human being. It's very hard. So just seeing him like crying was like, are you guys not really seeing like what you can report me? You can do whatever you like with me, but let's at least deal with him first. That was always my motto, because at the end of the day, you have a responsibility from Ilahi that you're taking care of this human being. And when someone is in that dire of need, like, you're very like, in a sense of like, you're gonna get the highest judgment from Ilahi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to be very delicate in how you treat people when they're very vulnerable like that. You know what I mean? So seeing the patient like that, it struck me, but then I was like, okay, let me just focus on him. Let me talk to him. I ignored all of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So then come the next day morning, I'm getting called to the office again. And this is getting to be almost like every other day. Like, I'm getting reported and I'm sitting in the office.
They're really annoyed by you.
Yeah. And I'm sitting in the office and they were super heavy on, like, they kept asking my mentor, like, oh, this girl, like, we have to do extra work when we're coming to her because she's very strict. Like, we can't get through Yasmin. And the reason why is, before I even go into a room where I know I got reported, I think about every door they can come out of, any excuse they can use, and I make sure I have answers for everything.
Wow.
Before I sit down.
Oh my God, Yasmin, survival mode. Wallah, you're in survival mode. You're in a fight of your life.
Well, because I'm like, they're going to come for me from this angle, that angle, this angle. You have to
SubhanAllah.
cover all angles and be prepared and sit there.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I asked her, I said, oh, she's like, oh, you said you couldn't get to the nurse, you were busy. I was like, yes, you can go check my pages. I said, you can check the cameras. I told the charge nurse.
Yeah.
And then I was like, next, like,
Yeah.
what else were we talking about? She's like, and I was like, how about I turned the tables on them. I said, how about let's talk about how they didn't know the machine wasn't even in the room. That tells me that the patient was never cared for. And let's count how many hours he was in the room. How many hours that was it? That's patient neglect right there.
What?
Yeah.
Yasmin turned into her father.
Right.
Yasmin turned into her dad. You were telling them exactly proof by proof where they went wrong.
Yes.
Outside of my work, let me tell you why I wasn't this year. Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been that must have been a surreal moment.
That's
For
when
them,
they dropped the whole case. They dropped it.
Because you knew what you were talking about.
I said, don't ever, don't drive me.
No, because what you were saying was valid.
Yes.
And they knew they can be in so much trouble if this were to escalate any further.
So alhamdulillah, I got through that one. But then after that, it just kept escalating. So I was getting trained.
Because now you got a bounty.
Yes. So I'm like the difficult one now. So I was getting trained. I remember this one time I kind of like got so fed up. Like I was crying. The first time I started crying. I was getting trained by this one specific RT, and she did not like me for no reason. Like I had no idea, but she kept trying to find something on me, and I kept having to like make sure all my ducks were in order, you know? So I remember she even had another RT watching what I do. So I would go and like I would go do my rounds, and then I would see this guy like in the corners. Like, and I'm
staring
like,
at you.
what is going on? Like, this is not his unit. This is my unit. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, so you have people watching me now. So then she's like, she called me. She's like, oh, you're in this area? The only way she knew I was in that area is because the RT told her. And she's like, oh, you have a neb that was not done. And I was like, okay, that is because, did you ask me why I wasn't done? I was like, we went to travel. We went to transport another patient. That took time. Now I'm back, and now I'm doing it. She goes, no, we need to talk to you. Come to the office. And I was like, okay. And I knew why they were mad, because previously, during my downtime where they were having a break, one of my other fellow coworkers, she's a Somali woman, she was having difficulties like drawing blood, you know. And then she's like, Yasmin, can you help me out? And I was in the middle of training. So I talked to my preceptor. I said, hey, she needs help. And then she was telling me no one's helping her. Like she asked everybody, they told her they're busy, yet they're in the room sitting around, you know?
Wow.
So, because they want to see you fail, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm going to go help her. Is that okay? And if we get any calls, I'll report to it. She's like, okay. And I went to her, I helped her out, I came back. I knew they were mad about that.
Why?
So they do not want us to help each other. Because they know if
is that a rule somewhere though that you're not allowed to help each other?
If we help each other, they can't get to us. They can get to us if
Struggling
you're individually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're a unit, they really can't get to us. You know. So I came and I also asked for to go pray. I didn't ask. I told her, hey, we're during our break time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pray and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
It's like you don't ask to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. So why should I ask to go pray?
You know what I mean? So it's like, can I go to the bathroom? Like no one says that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go and pray and I'll be back and within this time span. And she said, okay. So I knew they're at least mad about those two things. I was preparing my mind going into the room. And then so the charge is sitting there, my preceptor is sitting there, and then he goes, Yasmin, I just feel like you're not very serious about your learning here. You're out here helping other people, talking to your friends. You want to help your other friends instead of learning your stuff. I was like, it wasn't during learning time. It was during break time. You guys were here watching TV and stuff. So I went to go help her out.
You said that?
Yeah, I blatantly said that. I was like, you guys
were watching TV.
And I went to go help her because you refused to help her.
Yeah.
And he was like, but, you know, it's just that I understand she's your friend, but this is your learning time. You've asked about getting training. You're finally getting the training you want. So why are you deterring away? And then you're asking for other break times. And I was like, that was prayer. You know? And it was like they
Oh
try
my
to twist your emotions
Yeah.
against you and try to
Yeah.
like kind of manipulate your mind into thinking, oh, they finally gave you what you wanted. How dare you do
Be
extra?
ungrateful. Yeah.
So it's like I felt so much pressure. And then they were like, oh, by the way, you're charting. I was like, yeah, I'm charting right now. Isn't this charting time? They're like, yeah, but you could have charted earlier if you weren't helping so-and-so.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, okay. So then I sit in the corner and I'm charting, and then one of my friends, he came and he's from Togo. So he was like my support buddy all along. Like he came and he's like, Yasmin, are you okay? And him just saying, are you okay?
The cry fest. That's what. Guess what, guys? PSA: no one. If you see somebody upset, don't ask them if they're okay. Because I don't know why I start crying. Even if I know I'm not okay, don't ask me if I'm okay. If you ask me right now, I'll even start crying. I don't even want to know. I don't want to go there.
Well, so I started bawling. He's like, Yasmin, are you okay? No, who did this to you? We're gonna go to them. Who was it?
Aw.
And I was like, I just don't want to talk about it right
You
now.
just felt defeated, eh?
Yeah, I just felt like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like I understand I love healthcare, but this is not the healthcare that I wanted, And so I called my mentor. I'm like, oh, I start bawling to her.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. She was like, Yasmin, like I've waited so long for a whole bunch of our community to come here and for us to make a change. You can't let them get to you. Like you cannot allow that. And I was like, I know, but this is I can't do this. And she's like, I respect that if you want to quit, but I don't want them to make you quit. Like you quit because you want to quit, not because, you know what I mean? They pushed you to quitting. And I was like, that's true. And I get back to my senses and I'm like, okay, let's do this again.
You just wipe the tears. You put your metaphorical cape back on. This feels like an opening of a Grey's Anatomy episode.
I would come home every day crying. I would tell my parents. My parents heard all the stories every day. They did this to me, and then they did this to me, and I would just cry. And my mom was like, just leave the job. And my dad is like, no, you can't let them change you. And I can't have him come in anymore. You know what I mean? He can come in all my life, but now it's like
you gotta fight
I'm
yourself.
a working big girl.
Yeah.
I can't have my dad come in.
Yeah.
And so I was like, as much as I would love for him to come in, he would have set the tone for me, you know what I mean? But alhamdulillah, as we kept going, I kept learning how to learn the system. I basically became my own lawyer.
You have to.
So I had to learn in order to survive here. And in order to get my goals, which is to have more cultural inclusivity in this hospital, I have to learn the system of how they can't get to me. I have to learn the system. So I learned it, and it worked out so well for me, alhamdulillah. Even though it was very hard, it worked out in my favor. There's a specific incident of a doctor, and I've met with this doctor one other time, and we had issues of not being on the same page, which is fine. I don't push anyone to, this is how I'm thinking, this is what you should do, but at least hear me out. You know what I mean? Make sure my words are valid, just like my white coworker. They think you're not intelligent enough. If you tell them something, they question it, they go and ask another coworker, is that correct? You know what I mean? So it's you're never validated. And you not being validated affects your patients. You know what I mean? Your patients are not getting the services they need because they're not believing you, So we go into the specific incident where a doctor was telling me to put a specific machine on the ventilator. And I was like, oh, that machine is not compatible, but I will ask the heads, the charge of the department, and I will get inquiries. I'm not just going to go based off of my word. I ask, they're like, no, this doesn't work. And I was like, okay. I came back to them. I said, this person and this person, which they are highly fond of, said this. And she's like, okay, it's not possible because another hospital did this. I'm like, maybe they had different machines that are compatible with it. Ours is not, And I gave her a few other options of what to do. She didn't listen to me. I go into the patient's room. I'm like, oh, is this patient paralyzed? And she's like, yeah, they're paralyzed. What do you mean? I was like, oh, I thought that I saw the patient flinching, but maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe reflexes and maybe just my eyes.
Okay.
But just, you know what I mean? And I said, just let's make sure they're fully, like,
They actually are
they are.
paralyzed.
Because this specific patient needed a smaller tube because she had so much swelling in her throat.
Yeah.
And if she coughs and it comes out, she's already difficult to intubate, which is putting the tube in.
Yeah.
She's already difficult with that. So it's going to be harder to put it in again.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to make sure everything's correct. So she's like, yes, it is. And then I guess one of my other coworkers that was doing EKG that night came to the room, and she was asking him questions in front of me, like, oh, is this machine compatible with this machine? And he's like, yeah. And then I looked over. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah? Like, how does it work? Like, I was intrigued to know. I was like, 3 people said it does not work. We don't have compatibility for it. Teach me how it has compatibility with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, I can just make my own. Basically, he's gonna go and experiment and put like things together.
Excuse me?
And make his own little like manufactured, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because if anything comes out of that, then it's
Then
like
you're liable.
You're liable for it. So I said, no, I can't do it. And he goes, she looks at him. She goes, I mean, he said it works. And I said, okay, I mean, if he said it works and you said it works, how about y'all do it?
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. Y'all do it.
Yeah, you do it. You do it
together.
You do it.
I'm a step aside.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting in trouble for this, right?
Yeah.
So then he goes and does this little makeshift. He puts it in. 1 hour he was struggling just to find out it didn't work. I didn't tell them I told you, so I just kept my mouth shut. You know, did my rounds.
Yeah. Mind your business.
Mind my business. And then she, yet again, I kept pushing for, is this patient paralyzed? Is this patient No one was listening to me. You know what I mean? And come rounds again, like it's morning shift change, and I'm getting report, and I get a call, and I hear screaming. Huh. Oh my God, the patient's tube came out. The patient's tube came out. And I run to the room.
Yeah.
And then the doctors are like, fix it. And I'm standing there like, I told you she wasn't paralyzed enough. Like, she was not, the patient coughed, and then the tube came out.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
and it was already difficult to put it in.
Yeah. And then now the machine is not giving her adequate breaths. Oxygen is going down. Everything's tumbling.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay. And she's like, do something with the machine. I was like, the machine can't do anything unless the tube is in.
Yeah.
We can't do anything with the machine. Let's emergently take this tube out and let's put another tube in, or call ENT or something, you know? And I was like, I even showed her, like, here's me messing with the machine. It's not working. And then thankfully, when that was happening, one of my coworkers, some other girl, she came with me. She knew something was off, you know? And then when she saw them like bickering with me, she called the charge to come to the room so he can witness what's happening here. And thankfully she did that. So he comes in, another black male. We're all, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
So it doesn't serve like anybody. He asked me, like, Yasmin, what's happening? I was like, this is what happened. He goes, yeah, you're right. Like, that's not gonna work out. Like, they have to take the tube out. Like,
yeah.
Or reinsert the tube. Like, they have to fix the tube. I was like, yeah, because the tube is sitting on the tongue.
Yeah.
What are we ventilating?
Yeah.
We gotta be in the lungs.
Yeah.
So, and then he goes, can you go get me suction? Because she's like drooling all over. And I was like, okay. I was about to leave the room, and then the doctor, like, she puts herself by the door and she goes, where are you going? I'm like, I'm grabbing suction. She goes, she uses very vulgar words. She said, all of you illiterate RTs, get the F away from the machine and step back.
Excuse, you're...
And I said, what?
Oh my
And then she
God.
comes, and then she was like, she was telling me, she was trying to show me the patient is paralyzed. So what she did is she took the end of the suction and she stuck it on their hand. I was like, see? And then she goes and she sticks it on their tongue and then twists it. And I'm like, what are you doing here?
What is she doing? I don't understand.
Like, why are you inflicting pain on the patient? Like, at the end of the day, like, what are you doing? Just to prove to me, like, they're paralyzed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I just stepped back. I'm like, she's obviously freaking out.
She's out of her mind.
Yeah. And I was like, let me just step back and just keep quiet, because she's not listening to us. She just wants us to stand there. She goes, grab me the RT that, grab me the other RT, which was the white RT.
The white RT.
The white RT. Grab me the white RT. is what she said.
She said
And
white,
no, she said grab
her
me the
name,
other.
but you knew
Yeah.
the white
Because
RT.
the charge is there, I'm there, another RT is there.
There.
We're all black.
But it's
But you want the white RT. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
And then she goes, he knows what he's doing. So he comes, and then the charge RT is telling her, like, hey, like, this patient is declining because of you. Like, can you get everything situated? Can you call ENT? Can you know what I mean? Like, can we get things going here? Like, because you don't want to say that you were wrong, you're inflicting harm on the patients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And mind you, the family of the patient was there too. So they were stepped outside, but the door is open. They can hear everything.
They can hear and see everything.
Yeah. So then she yells at him and she goes, get the F out of here, you illiterate RT.
The charge.
Yeah. And she goes, all of you illiterate RTs, get the F out of here.
So basically, everybody black, get the hell out.
Yeah. And she was throwing the F-bomb at us.
Oh my gosh, she actually is going crazy.
And then everybody left. And then everybody's kind of like holding my hand like, yes, let's go. And they knew I was like, I'm not tolerating this, you know? And they're like, let's go. And they took me out of the door, and then I let their hand go. I said, just go. They're like, Yasmin, what are you about to do? I knew I was like, I lost it at this point. I was walking backwards.
Okay.
To the room, because where the room was to my left. And I started walking with all the other RTs, and then just realized how that was unacceptable, and how you're doing this in front of a patient and their family, and you're not helping the patient, and you're more focused on downgrading me. You know what I mean? Degrading me at that point. So I literally walked backwards, and I looked at the room, and everybody's there. And I looked over and I said, don't you ever do that again and ever think that's okay. That's highly inappropriate, and you don't own this patient. And just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're the only one that can advocate for this patient.
Wow.
And then she was like, do you know who I am? I said, do you know who I am? Because you don't know who I
am. Okay. Do you know who I am? Who are you, Yasmin? Because I have many words for you. You're giving me boss chick. You're giving me I'm a 6 and a 9. You're giving me everything in the sky. Okay? You told her, do you know who I am? Ma'am, respectfully, do you know who I am?
And then she was shocked. She was like, did someone like talk back to me? Like, because in healthcare, it's like the norm. Like, you don't talk back. It's especially the doctor. Like, you don't do that. You know? And I was like, don't you ever disrespect us ever again. And I said, you don't own that patient. We're a healthcare team, and we're here to help the patient together.
Don't you ever. You know, if I was there, I would have been the second girl. Don't you ever, you heard what you said?
Yeah. And I said, and next time, how about you actually listen to people? And I walked away, and I was like, okay. And I made sure I did my little report too, because
Yasmin's gonna be typing with those little fingers.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I gotta cover all my tracks. I don't have time for this. So eventually, like, my manager comes again. There's a report. They reported against me. I guess because the doctor started crying to the charge nurse after I walked away. She's like, I can't believe she said that to me. And she was like crying. I was like, like, you feel hurt? Like, you don't know what you just did? You know what I mean? So they told me everything. I said, I don't need to explain anything. Everything is written down. And I actually put patient neglect. Anything I can use. Because they use everything. I guess this is protocol.
Your time.
After that specific doctor was super like extra cautious around me. Like to the point where we're going to another patient's room one day, and I had to grab my gown to wear to go in because it's like a contact. You can't touch the patient. So she hands me the gown. She's like, here you go. And I was like, you don't have to do extra. Like, I don't put myself in a high pedestal. Like, just because that happened, just don't do what you were doing ever again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but you'd think it would stop there, but it didn't. To the point where there's a Somali RT that heard about this, and I don't know her. And she went to my dad's halal, and she was like, oh, is your daughter, like, when she was talking to him, she was like, oh, she works as an RT. He's like, yeah, and this is her name. She goes, oh, she wears glasses? He's like, yeah. And she goes, oh, tell her to be careful, because all these nurses are out to get her, and they actually tell us, like, watch out for her. If you find something on her, report it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, and then imagine your dad coming home like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
they're actually, like, they're trying to
They're
cost
going
you your
after, they're
license.
going after you. Yeah,
You
your
know what I mean?
license.
So I'm just like, I just do what I can. I advocate for my patients. I'm not disrespectful, but they don't like it. So so we went through that, and then come again, we go through another code blue. I'm running to my patient's room, and I'm trying to grab a gown to put on to go into my patient's room. And he's a young kid coding, and the family's there. They're super heartbroken. And I'm just thinking about all of this, how I'm preparing myself to go into the rooms, because I do not like going into code blue rooms. Like as everyone says, like, healthcare kind of like desensitizes you in a little bit. You know what I mean? When you're seeing so much death. Every time I'm in there, I just get the jitters. You know what I mean? And I'm super uncomfortable. So I have to pre-program my mind going in. So as I'm thinking about this, a nurse stops me. She's like, where are you going in? I was like, oh, my patient's here to see my patient. She's like, oh, no, we don't need cleaning in there.
Cleaning.
And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, we don't need cleaning in there. We don't need you in there. And I'm like, here we go again.
Oh, my God.
That you can't be anything but a cleaner in the hospital if you're a Black Muslim woman in the hospital. You know what I mean?
SubhanAllah.
So it's like I was denied my patient's room, and then she snatches my gown and hands it to anesthesia.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, okay. And then I see an RT come out, and I was like, is everything good in there? And they're like, yeah, everything's good. We have enough people in there. I was like, okay, I'm going to leave. Just let me know if you guys need me. I was just super, like, overwhelmed by emotion. Like, I was just denied to go in my patient's room because they thought I was the cleaner. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. When I made sure everything was good with him, I just removed myself. I was like, healthcare was just super toxic at that time for me, and I'm that type of person. I feel everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I had to keep learning how to remove myself from situations if it wasn't for me, like, because I was getting super overwhelmed to the point where I was dreaming about it. And when I go home, I'm like thinking about it, dreaming about it. It was just my whole life was consumed by it, to the point where I had to build a regimen of like, when I leave work, I have to go take a walk.
Wow.
I can't go home and go to bed. I have to go take a walk, like release everything, you know what I mean? And then go home, take a shower, and then go to bed. Like, I have to have an entire regimen just so it doesn't affect me as much, So, so as we're going through that and it's getting more and more severe, there's one incident in particular, but it's a personal story of one of my coworkers. But when that incident outgrew and we were all super like frustrated with it, we all stood up like, we're gonna fight this, and we went to the heads. We took all of our documentation, all of our paperwork, everything. And then HR did a whole analysis on the nurses to ask them, hey, do the RT coworkers come to you guys and they degrade the RTs? They just went down the list of everything we're complaining about. And they were like, yes. So they basically validated that there was racism. And then all of a sudden they tell us, one of the RTs goes, well, I feel like I'm being singled out too as a white woman. And I'm like,
oh, here we go.
Okay. Let me hear her out, And then she goes, well, when they come into the department, and the department, this is a lounge room where you get to eat. TV's here, you know what I mean? So when they come into the department, they start speaking in their language. And I don't think that's acceptable because we don't understand it. So now the tables are getting turned on us like, oh, you guys can't speak. I don't speak Somali when I'm talking about patient care because you're not going to understand me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I speak Somali when I'm in my private, and I explained to her, I was like, when you're on your phone, you're in the department and you're talking to your family, do I come and insert myself?
Yeah.
No.
And do I have the right to listen to what you're talking about?
So what made you okay that you sitting over there, you had to understand what I'm talking about and having a private conversation over here?
Yeah.
So, and then I turn the tables on her and I say, let's talk about how there's a respiratory student that you were precepting that was here, and he was Vietnamese, and you came into the room shouting ching ching ling ling.
No.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And And so
Oh
she,
my God, she's so crazy. That's so crazy to me. Hayat,
right? So she during that
subhanallah.
incident, so she came into the room shouting that, and I was confused because the whole room is packed. And I looked over because I'm like, you're not really hearing this, Yasmin. This can't be possible, you know? It's absolutely not possible. And then I look at the student, I look at her. Completely turn around. I was charting. I completely turn around. I'm like, okay, let me hear this again. She goes, ching, ching, ling, ling. And the student goes, what are you doing?
The
She
student
goes,
himself.
yeah. He goes, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm just speaking in Chinese to you. And then he goes, I'm not Chinese, I'm Vietnamese. And then she goes, same thing. And then she goes, he's explaining to her, he's like, what are you doing though? She goes, oh, I'm just on my Google Translate. I use this when I'm talking to my patients. And he goes, so what do you do? She goes, I just tell Google Translate to tell them what I want them to let them know. And then I just like turn it on for them or repeat it after it. And I'm sitting here like, is this serious? And then he asks her, like, when they respond to you, how do you respond back? She goes, oh, I tell them to pipe it down.
Excuse me?
And I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like, and I look at her and I'm like, that's absolutely unacceptable. You can stop right there. And then she looks at me because she knows we've already had it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's already tried me because not only is she a coworker, she's a schedule maker. So if she doesn't like me, guess what happens to my schedule?
She overbooks you.
I'm working night, day, evening, getting swapped around, getting my, you know what I mean, my sleep cycle all swapped around just because, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I go to the manager and I report it. I make sure I document and then I report. And then they talk to her and they're like, she's just, you know what I mean, having a bad day. She just didn't know what she was saying in the moment. I was like, okay, this is wow. And then right after that, it's just so many stories, but this one is very like pinnacle for me. Is the day that me and my co-partner were walking together to the elevator. She left a patient's room, I left a patient's room, we were walking, and then a nurse starts running towards us, and then she caught us off guard, and then she snatches our badges, and then I back up before she can fully snatch mine, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then she already snatched my co-partner's badge. And then she's like, what's your name? What's your name? I'm reporting you guys. I'm like, we're just walking in the hallway. What are you reporting? And she jots down her name and the elevator opens and then she runs into it. I run after her. I'm like,
oh my
what you
God.
just did was highly inappropriate. What was that for? And then she's like, oh, I can't be in an elevator with people like you.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay. So we go to her charge station. We go to her charge nurse and we're reporting her like this is highly inappropriate. And another nurse comes and pulls us to the side and she's like, oh, she blatantly says she doesn't like people of our skin color. Blatantly every day. And I'm like, and that's okay. And she was like, that's not okay, but I hope you ladies like take this very far because she needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
So we go and report her. And when they finally did the whole investigation, they came back to us and they said, oh, we apologize on her behalf. And she was just having a bad day.
She was just having a bad day.
Yeah. I was like, wow, a lot of bad days are happening. But if I had a bad day, that would have been
no, it wouldn't have been
different.
The same. Yeah.
So so when we reported and we started escalating and we were in that room talking about everything, they later, after they concluded it, they were like, you guys need emotional assistance.
Who needs emotional assistance?
The HR, everybody was sitting there. They're like, everybody needs to respect each other. And then the people that were affected, we're going to give you guys some emotional assistance.
You guys need emotional assistance.
Is basically what they
After everything, you guys need emotional assistance. Yep. They don't need training.
Nope. And then it escalated even more than that. After that, like now we're like open book, like talking about everything, you know? So, and then next thing you know, I'm having my patient one day, he was not on a nitric machine. So all of a sudden I go into the room to do my rounds. I see a nitric machine. It's on the wrong, like it's way high of a number. I'm like, who put this in? And why is it on this number? And then I asked the nurse and she's like, oh, one of the RTs came by and did it. And I'm like, so if anything happens, I'm under the care of that patient. why isn't this RT coming back to me and letting me know? And why are you asking him and he's doing this for you? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm the RT. Why didn't you call me?
Mm-hmm.
Even if he's around, that still doesn't, that's not his patient. You know what I mean? So I go and I confront him. And I'm like, why did you put this machine on my patient? Even if it was ordered, the order didn't even come through. There's no order. Even if they told you there's supposed to be an order. And it's on a high setting. And then he just started like he was freaked out, like, because he didn't think I would approach him, you know? And I said, that's highly like inappropriate and unsafe. And you can get my license,
Mm-hmm.
like in trouble. Like, why are you and then you didn't even report it back to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to watch every step. Like every day was like, okay, make sure you watch this. Make sure you watch this. It was like too much. And then one day I came in and they gave me the heaviest assignment. They gave me the OR. They gave me everything. And then I'm going to the OR and there's something that they're asking me to do and I don't even know how to do it. You know, I'm asking everybody to help me. Nobody's offering to help. And then finally, like, I told the doctor, like, I don't know. Like, and you can tell the managers that too. Because I'm not going to try and experiment with something that I don't know and I wasn't trained for.
Mm-hmm.
And they can take the responsibility on not training me. That's up to them. And you can call the RT department and get somebody. He finally called up and they got someone to do it. You know what I mean? Because now a doctor is saying to come down. They're going to listen, you know? So as we go throughout that, and then I remember I was crying that day. There's one of my patients was coding. Like I had to run up right after that. And then like my friend from Togo, he's like, is everything okay? Every time he said anything, anything okay? I was just bawling and bawling. And I was like, no, they did this to me, they did that. And then I was explaining everything, and then my patient coded. I had to just wipe my tears and go into the room and thug it out. Like, I have to save this person's life. And as I'm in the room, like doing compressions and everything, I'm just crying.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, this is not how I imagine healthcare to be. You know what I mean? And this is not what I'd like to do. And, you know, especially as finally being able to take care of your family and like
Yeah.
finally having a job where you're able to sustain that. It's like you don't want to like push your family into like not having that assistance anymore. So you have that in the back of your head, like I don't want to let them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that was pressuring me, even though I knew I was able to and comfortably able to, like, it was like I probably over exaggerated it in my mind a little too much, but I was like, you're finally grown, you're finally able to work, you're supposed to let your parents rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I put that pressure on myself in a sense. So, and then it just kept escalating more and more. And then I remember I listened to a Mahadara by Umar Suleiman, and he was basically talking about, in summary, basically, if you see something you don't like that's injustice, like try to change it with action, your words. Like, even if you can't do anything, the last thing you should do is just hate it in your heart. You know what I mean? So I was refusing to leave there because I knew if they're doing this to us, healthcare workers, what is being done to the patients?
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
You know, and these people are coming into the department talking about, oh, you would hear the most ridiculous stories like, oh, my patient looks like a monkey, or oh, they had too many family members and they had too much food, and like like when it came to like prior to COVID and people are allowed to come to the hospital and like a Muslim person was passing away, that Haristo, like the whole hallways, everything would be packed. It was so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? They were respectful. They were in like lines and stuff. Like, I understand getting them to cooperate and not make, you know what I'm saying, chaos. But why are you making that into a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? Just because you don't understand the cultural norms of it, you know? So when we left that situation, I was like applying for jobs like crazy. Like, and then the thing is they all talk. All the hospitals are all the managers are interconnected.
Really?
They all talk. So it's like everyone's telling you like, oh, this hospital didn't like you, best believe you're not getting into another hospital.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So it's like they kind of like fear mongered you, like,
Yeah.
oh, you're done for your whole career, you know? And I'm over here like,
They put
this
you on a
can't-
blacklist.
basically. So I was applying everywhere, could not get anything. And then I applied for a specific job. And I remember this one day, like I was taking a walk after work and I was like, yeah, a lot. Like, I understand like waiting and patience and tawakkal ala Allah, but like this is like my I've hit capacity
Yeah.
at this point. And I remember that day, like I took a screenshot of like the area I was walking in, and I remember just saying like, by the time I wake up in the morning, like I'm putting in my final notice. I'm quitting. Like this is it. There has to be another way. Like I'm not gonna quit trying to make a change. But I learned you can't make a change being inside. I just knew I had to be done with this.
So what did your dua sound like?
My dua is the power of dua.
Yeah.
You know?
What did it sound like? Tell me what it sounded like.
I was like, yeah.
What were those conversations between you and Allah?
I was praying. No matter what, I always pray for Allah to protect me and to guide me based on where He wants me to have purpose. You know what I mean? And I said, Ilahi, I don't want to lose myself in this. You know what I mean? You know my limits. I don't know my limits more than you. But like, if there's another way that I can help the ummah and change what's happening, I'd rather do that than suffering inside. You know what I mean? And that morning I woke up and I got the job.
No.
Well, so it wasn't morning, but morning for night shifters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I woke up and I got the job. I was like, no,
Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah.
Allahu Akbar.
Like, because we were going through Ramadan during that time too. Like, I remember I was praying for everybody. Everybody I knew, everybody was getting a prayer. Especially that whole department, everybody was getting a prayer.
Yeah.
Like, Ilahi, like, I know we have our own journeys. Like, if I'm able to leave, I know someone else is not able to leave. Like guide them, and protect them. You know what I mean? And because at the end of the day, like, imagine you work so hard, you have licensing, and they come after your livelihood, and it'll be done in seconds. You know, so it's very hard. So Alhamdulillah, I woke up and I saw it, and I was like, Alhamdulillah, finally, you know. And then I went to work and accidentally went to work because they changed up my schedule so much. I didn't even know when I was working, you know. And I came in, I guess, a couple of hours early, so they had me stay instead. And then I guess the whole department was talking about how my schedule was the one that was getting wrecked. They're like, oh my God, Yasmin, did you see your schedule? Look what they did to you. And they know it's bad and they know it's wrong. And they talk about it to you, but they're the same ones causing the issues. Yeah. That makes sense. So I went into the department and then I looked at the schedule and I just took a pencil and and it's the permanent schedule, and I took a mark. And I went from my name all the way from the date that I'm leaving, and I put a whole line through it. And then everybody's like, what are you doing, Yasmin? That's the one they used. What are you doing? Stop. Yeah. I said, and I just kept going until it ended. And when it ended and they kept asking, I looked at them and I said, read between the lines.
Yasmin, you deserve a movie. A lifetime movie. Just Xing out your entire schedule in front of them without even telling them. No. Just epically read between the lines. Finally, Yasmin does the epic walkout out of the hospital that caused her so much grief and so much pain. She can finally start fresh and leave the past in the past. But then, at the new hospital, Yasmin's trials only continued. Yasmin witnesses a nurse make a fatal mistake that kills a patient. And she finds herself caught between a hospital cover-up, a grieving family, and the survival of her career. Find out next week what happens to Yasmin. This episode is brought to you by Beautiful Light Studios. Our producer is Munashik Omar. Special thanks to our assistant producers, Khoeib Zaid and Nima Haroun. Our graphic designer, Sima, aka Wasima Farah. Our project manager, Yasmin Mahmoud. Our marketing extraordinaire, Sosin Abdullahi. If this podcast gave you value, we're leaving it up to you. Donate however much you feel like it gave to you. We have a huge team this year that's put in so many hours into bringing the show to life. If you guys knew how long we spent this week, how many hours we spent recording the narrations, you'd give us $1 million. Alhamdulillah. If you can't give right now, that's okay. Please keep us in your du'as. I'll see you guys next week in your ears, in your speakers, telling you what? Telling you a good story.